Hey guys, how's it boy? MKS here, back in another video, and welcome to the second part of NeuroDIVERGENT Tuesdays, the very, as I call it in my strange way. I would have done this last week, but I think it was last week when I tried to do this, probably the week before. Sure, it's last week actually, because I think that was the first week in November. But anyway, I had, or whatever, sometime anyway, but I had some tech issues with Facebook and YouTube, and I wonder if that's a recent thing due to AI or whatever, the algorithms working in a certain way or whatever. I don't know, but anyway, I was thinking because it's the 11th today, technically, still just about the 11th. I could have done something different, but I thought I'd finish what I started last week. Feels like longer than a week ago, but yeah, I had all these issues with YouTube and Facebook and whatever. But ideally, I would have recorded these videos on both Facebook and YouTube. I'm hoping to get my channel back by Friday, my profile back, sorry, my Facebook, and I hope this lasts for as long as possible. God willing, and Godspeed. I know sometimes I judge wood, but anyway, so I'll try and stop waffling. And yeah, these are my plans for Tuesdays, for NeuroDIVERGENT Tuesdays. So these are pointers number 11 to 20, and as ever, please let me know what you think in the comments. What are your least or most favourite ideas I mentioned, whether you agree with me on certain things or disagree with me, or any ideas of your own or whatever. And here goes. I failed at my initiative to try and keep the intro down to about a minute or 30 seconds even. But anyway, it is what it is. So yeah, moving on. Here goes number 11. As I say, because it's the 11th today, I was thinking I could have done something different. But I thought I'd focus on this, and I hope to change the perception of neurodiversity, as I've mentioned before, by, for instance, showcasing entrepreneurs with dyslexia and other neurodiverse conditions, maybe finding role models in terms of like people in tech, thinking of things that begin with T for Tuesdays. But I also think of, for some reason, I think of banking and business and that kind of thing, as well as tech, and I hope to change the lives for the better for people generally, especially those with neurodiverse conditions. And I'd love for us to have these business and tech hubs and centres, which would be for neurodiverse people. Now, I'm mainly trying to focus on neurodiverse people, but they could also be for the black community, maybe to compensate them for being called the N-word or whatever, and that kind of thing, for instance, and for slavery and colonisation and that kind of thing. I know people might say they're only words, hurt you words or whatever, and sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can't hurt me or whatever. But some words are very serious. Anyway, I'm not going to get too much into some things I was thinking of, because I'm going to try and stick to a point, stick to a topic. But yeah, I mean, if someone insults your family or calls you an abuser or whatever, I know a lot of people would get very violent, so words can cause a lot of problems, and words can be very good, like if you can encourage people with the right words as well. So I think words are very important, as I think the biblical teaching is. I think the Bible says like the tongue can cause a lot of dangers or something like that. Anyone who's religious, please let me know what it says in the comments. And again, if you want to post anything, whether that's religious, spiritual, inspirational, or even if you have to be rude or whatever, anything you want to post, you're welcome to post. I'd rather be polite, but you can post what you want in the comments. But yeah, I was saying like there could be business hubs and centres which offer things like teaching, training, opportunities, and access to funding. I normally like think of this for Mondays, because like mentorship Mondays, but mentorship, information and knowledge about where to get funding or whatever it might be. And I'd love to do that in Britain and all over the world really, and also to fundraise. I'd love to fundraise, a bit of a side note, but me as a neurodiverse person, I guess I'd love to fundraise to help African countries have business and tech hubs for like innovation, encouraging entrepreneurship and tech development across Africa, and similar for Asia, Aboriginals, Native Americans, there's another group I was going to say as well, and others, and changing the world, as I say, for the better, especially for neurodiverse people, but also for Native Americans and for the black diaspora, and that kind of thing, to turn negatives into positives, to change perceptions and things like that. and again change the world for the better, hopefully for various people. Sorry, you probably can't see my cat in the corner there, so I'm just stroking the cat. So he was behind that picture earlier, so I was thinking he might make an appearance and like brighten up the video. But anyway, moving on to number 12. As I'd love to encourage and inspire neurodiverse people, as well as Native Americans and the Black diaspora. Again, I know I'm mainly trying to focus on neurodivergent people, but in the past I had an idea, and I guess I still have that idea kind of, but I sort of remembered it this morning when I got up, or this afternoon, or whenever it was, and I thought if in the past I said if dyslexic people can create our own YouTube channels and TikTok and things like that. I thought of YouTube as an example. I thought if all possible dyslexic people around the world did so and subscribed to each other's channels, liked each other's videos and shared each other's videos and all that kind of thing, we could build a community. And I was thinking of figures like neurodiverse people around the world basically subscribing to each other's YouTube and TikTok channels and things like that, and supporting each other by subscribing to each other, liking each other's videos and all that kind of thing. So someone could set up a channel like a neurodivergent YouTuber, and then there could be someone else who sets up another channel, and so many people around the world with neurodiverse conditions. And I thought this could be a good way for us to make a living. I was thinking about the numbers. I was thinking about, like, even rather conservatively, if we say there are about 8 billion people in the world, if about, let's say, 10% are neurodiverse, I think it's more than that, it's probably 20% more, maybe, something like that anyway. But let's say if 10% of people are neurodiverse, that would be about 800 million worldwide. Now, to be fair, not everyone's who's neurodiverse or even neurotypical is going to have access to the internet, let alone YouTube or whatever. And not everyone's going to want to play ball. As one of my sisters said to me, when I said about the dyslexic community doing that, she said, like, say for instance, you can get really right wing and really left wing dyslexics, you can get some really racist dyslexics, unfortunately, and some of them more left wing, some anti-imperialists like myself or whatever. So it's very difficult to see all of them come together. But I think you can try and take an idea. Some people might put it and try and take a good idea, so to speak, if I can say that. I do say so myself, arguably, or potentially a good idea, and try to make it perfect. Whereas you might say, well, it's not going to be perfect, but even if we conservatize the numbers, even if we say like there are 8 billion people worldwide, 10%, let's say, have a neurodiverse condition of some sort. Let's say 10% of them have access to the internet. So 8 billion divided by, if we said 1% of 8 billion, which is 80 million or something, which is just more than there are people in the UK. And as many of us as possible made YouTube channels and support each other, subscribe to each other, like each other's videos and things like that. It would be, even if we said about 10% of that, so that's 8 million. If we had 8 million subscribers, 8 million subs, short subscribers, obviously, I think that could make a massive difference. And a while back, I heard it's like $7 for 1,000 views. So between us, we could give each other loads and loads of views, and each day we could make a few hundred. But I think that's quite a conservative number. If we said about 8 million, if we gave each other, like, I don't know, between us, let's say 80,000 views a day. I'm trying to really conservatize the numbers anyway, just in case. So I'm not trying to say it's. So even at the worst case scenario, basically, we could say we would still have about something like 80,000, or even if it's 8,000 views a day. I'm not very good at maths, but I think it's about 56. About £560 a day or something like that, roughly. Let's say £500 a day. I think that would be enough to live on. So it would mean that if we can't get jobs or whatever, we could support each other. But that would just be one step. Another thing we could do is, like, adding to that, we could teach each other what we know, train each other, network together, collaborate together on making videos, improving each other's videos, asking YouTube to support neurodiverse YouTubers and that kind of thing, to promote our content, and also even, I was thinking of things like saving money. I'm more into, like, sort of learning how to make and invest money, but then I want to give it away anyway. But saving money could really help. It would mean that if we can't get jobs or things like that, at least we'd have enough money in our account to live on, basically. So even if we don't have a lot, but I conservatize the numbers. But if I went the other way and went really idealistic, I could say like 20% of people have a neurodiverse condition. If we could help to fundraise, maybe pretty much all of us could have our own YouTube channels. We could pretty much all subscribe to each other, and we could pretty much watch each other's videos for an hour a day, and that would give us about 800 million watch hours a day, 800 million subs, or whatever, and that kind of thing. So that would be more of the idealistic vision and that kind of thing. But through those steps, like as many neurodiverse people as possible, basically having our channels, subscribing to each other's content, collaborating together, making videos together, and also getting support from YouTube, and similar with TikTok and whatnot, to promote our content and that kind of thing. Hopefully, don't want to jinx it, but not deleting our channels, that would help. But yeah, promoting our content, even promoting neurodiverse content creators for November, and also Native American as well as Black content creators, POC people as well, maybe generally, and that kind of thing. And then on top of that, also learning to save money. Where are areas where we could save and buy together as a group? And on top of that, investing together, things like that. But as ever, I'd love to know what you think. Whether you think I'm being too naive, whether you think that could work. And again, ideally, I would love to benefit all possible neurodiverse people. But even if I could help one or two, I think that would be beneficial. But again, what do you think? Number 13, I do admit I do have my doubts as well. I guess I don't know about all people, because I don't know what's in everyone's head. I was just saying we all have like those negative doubts, but most people probably have negative doubts which are negative, obviously, about what we can achieve. And from a selfish point of view, that's what I normally say for number 13, I'd love for us to see what we can do to benefit the town teams like Roma and Torino. I know you've seen other videos, you probably know what's coming, so to speak. I was going to say, number 14, I wonder if we could troubleshoot, i.e. solve problems together. We could be troubleshooters. Number 15, I'd love to know how we could support neurodiverse people's ambitions, whether that's just maybe getting a regular job, or whether that's doing volunteering, or being involved in tech, or even running a business, or investing, or whatever the individual goals may be, by listening to them. But at the same time, I mean, some people might have goals which are like just to steal or break the law or things like that, which I certainly want to discourage. Ideally, I would love for us not to break any laws. I don't know, I normally say not to join gangs, terrorism, or things like that. And I'd love for us to be teetotalers, not to smoke, drink alcohol, or take drugs or stuff like that, ideally. But again, I don't want to push my own goals onto other people. I often talk about my own personal goals and dreams, and I wonder how many, if any, neurodiverse people. Again, life, I suppose, is a numbers game, is I suppose what I was saying earlier. So I might not get every person who's neurodiverse to be involved or to do these things, but if I can get one or two, that could be great. Any more than that is a bonus, I guess. Every day is a bonus, as they say. But yeah, supporting each other's goals and ambitions. So I'd love to encourage neurodiverse people to support like Italian football, Celtic, libertarianism, supporting former colonies, those from former colonies, like across Africa and Asia and whatnot, and to tackle poverty and alleviate suffering, and peace and love and positivity and that kind of thing. But again, even if I can't win them all, can't win them all over, if I can help to encourage as many neurodiverse people as possible to support these goals and each other's goals, and hopefully work towards our ambitions and potentials, then I guess that's a step forward in the right direction, I guess. Number 16, once again, I'd love to know what other people think, and I'd love for there to be think tanks, again, given my use of alliterations, I was thinking about think tank Tuesdays, to see what are the best ways to support us, whether that's financial or emotional or whatever. Some people will probably say spiritual or religious, or whatever it might be, helping us to be the best versions of ourselves. Sorry for the corniness, but I guess again that could be different for different neurodiverse people. For some it might be just getting a regular job, for others it might be running a business or investing or whatever it might be. So yeah, it could be different for different people. But yeah, I love seeing what the best ways to benefit us are, think tanks and whatnot to benefit us. Number 17. Again, I think that even conservatively, if we have as many neurodiverse people as possible, creating our own YouTube and TikTok channels and things like that, and subscribing to each other, liking each other's videos and things like that, I think every little would help. And even conservatively, I think that could make a difference. Even if we earn, like, if we say if I had a job, I would earn £500 a week or whatever. Or if I'm working in the gig economy, I might not even get that much. So if you can earn that much on YouTube, you might think, well, okay, if I can't get a job, or if I'm worried about losing my job, at least I would have that as a backup. Similar to what I think about my investment ideas, like if Virgin Money and Schwab Corp help us to invest on our behalf, we could get to a position where, like I say, I call it potential FU money, because I say that if your boss treats you well, you don't have to treat them badly. But let's say if we can't get jobs, we don't have to worry because we'd have money coming through the savings. If we worried about losing our jobs, we wouldn't have to worry because we'd have that money. So we wouldn't have to step at night worried like, oh, what if I lose my job or whatever? What if I can't get a job? Or what if I lose a job? Or whatever it might be. If we no longer want, or if we no longer like our jobs, or some people might think it's a bit lazy, but as long as we don't take it from benefits or breaking the law, I think any legal form of getting money, preferably in the easiest way possible, in my view, is fair game. As long as, I say, we don't break the law and trickle benefits or things like that. I have some controversial views about like child benefits and things like that, so I won't get into them right now. But yeah, I'd love for us to get to a position where we wouldn't have to worry if we can't get jobs or if we can't keep jobs, and if we didn't want to work, and or if we no longer want to work, we wouldn't have to be forced to do so. I think I chose in a pattern because like 3 would be free to make a sort of choice as to whether we want to work or not, and 4 we won't be forced to do so. And the other one is like if we want to quit, we wouldn't be able to do that. And if our bosses treated us well or whatever, we could quit in a nice way and say, I want to do something else, I want to focus on my hobbies, I want to run a business, or I want to do whatever it is. We'd have that option. And then if our boss treated us badly, we could just quit on them, so we could leave them in the dark and like say, well, they treat me that way, so I'm going to treat them bad that way back. I'm going to treat them back the same way. But at the same time, some people might want to have a side job as well. So at least you'd have that option. And even if you were working, I think, okay, I've got a job, but what if I lose it one day? Or what if I no longer like working here, or whatever? You would have that option. Or if I no longer wanted to do so. So yeah, basically having the freedom of choice and options, but not through forcing other people to help us or whatever. On that note, I know I'm trying to think of like neurodiverse stuff, and I think I read that he might have ADHD or something, about Gary Stevens, who talks about like taxing the rich, wealth tax and that kind of thing. Like he's someone who I think, if you don't support hypocrisy, he's someone who I think I would not mind taxing someone like that, because if he calls for that sort of thing, if he calls for higher tax, I think he should be one of the first to pay for it. I think they are the people who should pay for it first, before anyone else, if not the only ones to pay for it. But yeah, I'd love to cut taxes as much as possible. But yeah, I think those who advocate for higher taxes should be made to pay such themselves, generally speaking, especially those with money, like Gary Stevenson has had. Stevenson, sorry, got me probably. But yeah, so like, if I could go into his account and take like 50%, I'd be like, yeah, fair enough. If you advocate for that, then I think you should be one of those to pay for it, and I would use that money to fund things like smart hubs, or whatever you want to call them, places basically which I talked about before, like business and tech hubs for neurodivergent, and Native American, and Black, and other minority people to learn about business, get funding, investment, teaching, training, and whatever other support they can get. But yeah, I think if you are going to advocate for higher taxes, you should be one of the first to pay for such. I know there's like the Patriotic Millionaires Group, for instance, but I guess they say patriotic, so, but even so, because if you were going to be fair about it, then we should be amongst the first to pay those taxes, and then they could go towards helping neurodiverse people to get the teaching and training through those centres and hubs. Whereas people who advocate for lower taxes, I think it should be fair that they pay lower taxes as well because they advocate for such. As I say, practice what you preach, and please don't be a hypocrite. I guess it's the same thing. Practice what you preach. / please don't be a hypocrite. I need to go over tuition lessons, but moving on to 18. As I say, hopefully there'll be a lot of positive things where neurodivergent entrepreneurs can teach and train each other, and teach and train us to invest and run businesses and things like that. And hopefully supporting each other on YouTube and TikTok will really be helpful and positive. And number 19, I'd love to support more neurodivergent people in tech. Again, I'm thinking of things that with tea because it's a Tuesday. And number 20, also, again, if let's say a neurodiverse person is a teacher, they could continue to do that. But if they were afraid of losing their job, or they couldn't get a job as a teacher because they didn't have the qualifications or whatever, or they didn't do well in an interview, they wouldn't have to worry only if we had those investments. So it'd be a safety net, but not through benefits or breaking the law or anything like that. So we would not take away other people's freedoms. And hopefully we can save the government a lot of money, and therefore maybe they should fund us more as well. Like if we can save the government billions of pounds or whatever it might be, millions of pounds, millions, but if we can save them that much, then I think it's only fair that they should give us money. So like, let's say we save the government £1 billion, I think it'd be fair for them to give us like 900 million back. So like 90% of what we save them, they could give us back in funding to help us to reinvest it and run businesses and whatnot. But yeah, I'm going to wrap this up and I'm out.